everybody. Welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet, brought to you by Anarchapulco, the world's largest narco-capitalist conference, this February 19th to 21st, 2016. I'm here with a guest that's probably the most asked about guest since we had her on nearly 3 years ago in episode 62, Amanda Billyrock. It was a great interview. I forget where you were at the time, but I think you were in a hotel room, and I was somewhere here in Acapulco. And it was a really good interview, and you went on to do a number of other things after that, and everyone really liked you for whatever reason. They liked your style and liked what you talked about. But it seemed like you kind of just disappeared there for a couple of years. So let's find out what's going on. You just showed up here in Acapulco. So what's been going on the last few years?
I guess I went dark or whatever, like a year and a half to 2 years ago. And in retrospect, I guess I could call it like a period of transformation, I guess. It was definitely a benefit to stop Facebook for a while, because I found that I was just spending hours a day on it, and I would get on Facebook and I would say, all right, I'm going to do these 5 things, and then I would look at the clock and it had been an hour. And I was like, what's happening to my life? But yeah, I guess I don't know if others can relate, but I guess taking the red pill is a big deal, and you can take the red pill on so many things. I mean, with the term of Anarchast, there's taking the red pill when you come to realize that monopolization of any service is a problem, including justice and infrastructure and security and all of that. And then of course Bitcoin took me on this whole what's been happening with the money and what's been happening with I don't know. And so there was just a lot of stuff that I thought about for 2 years, most especially my role as an individual. What can I actually expect? What kind of change could I reasonably expect to affect on the world, so that I don't end up with inflated expectations or deflated expectations? What can I actually expect of myself? And so that's what I've been thinking on. And then just about a month and a half ago, the Daily Decrypt was born, and that's what I do now. And I do have a Facebook account again, but I don't use it to send a bunch of messages. But now now that I use Twitter for that, so whatever. If you want to send me a bunch of messages, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll ask you about the Daily Decrypt in a bit. I totally understand with the Facebook. A few months ago, I made a conscious decision that I got to stop being on there so much. I found you get, before the internet and before Facebook, you would not hear everyone's every thought. And now, thanks to the internet and thanks to Facebook, you can get, this person's wrong about this, and this happened to this person, I think this is, it's like, so I was quite happy to, I use it now mostly just for putting up what I'm doing, and our articles and stuff like that. I still go on, I still read some stuff, so if you are a Facebook friend, I might see some of your stuff, but nowhere near like I used to, and it's improved my life dramatically. I just get a lot more done, a lot less frustration, because like I said, you're just hearing every single person every day, exactly what they're doing, their thoughts, what they're eating. It's too much.
Yeah, maybe this is starting to sound like a Facebook recovery group. Like, I used to be in it real hard, but I've really tampered down and life is better. I can attest to that.
It's true, though, in my opinion, and I see a lot of people, you always see somebody who goes, that's it, I'm off Facebook for a month or something. You just reach your limit. But I think it has a value, it has a use. But
absolutely.
Yeah, but
as with all things, moderation.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get addicted. A lot of my wife is on there quite a bit. I try to warn her, but it's only so much you can help people. She'll figure it out one day.
Each their own learning path.
Exactly. So you've been traveling around quite a bit. The last I heard from you, and I didn't know you're back on Facebook, by the way. I don't know if you added me as a friend or anything, but...
we didn't add anyone as a friend. We just created the Daily Decrypt page, and that's it.
Oh, it's just the Daily Decrypt.
Yeah.
Okay. But you've been traveling around quite a bit. You've been in Mexico for a while. The last I heard from you, that was sort of like a big deal, was again on Facebook when you got arrested in New Hampshire.
Oh, back in the long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, just to me, it's sort of always funny to see all these people in the Free State always getting arrested and kidnapped and put in cages. Not funny for you, of course, but you had a lot of people, I think, call in and stuff to help you out. Is that right?
Yes. Oh, very much so. Well, it's interesting you say, it's called the Free State, but all these people are getting caged all the time. And actually, I think those two go hand in hand. The Free State was born because of the police state, I think. And so, while a lot of people find a lot of value in living in places where there's perhaps less of a police state, they will also find that, as with the hand-in-hand element, you may not find as tightly knit and as totally hardcore of like a freedom network that you will find in places where the police state is actually a big issue, like New Hampshire. And so actually Pete and I are headed back there in 3 weeks. So
you picked a good time,
yeah,
December?
Yeah. Oh, I know, right? we don't even own coats. Like Pete's dad is going to mail him a coat, and I asked my mom to look around the basement to see if there's anything she could ship me so that we won't freeze upon arrival.
Yeah, that's interesting timing to go in December, but your choice. We'll be here enjoying the sun. But yeah, that is a good point. There is a great community up there, and it's a good point that while it is the Free State, the reason it is the Free State is because there is a major police state that needs to be fought against, essentially, and not allow them to run all over people up there, which they do to a great extent. So I think you were arrested. Did you ever tell anyone the story about what happened? It sounded like it was kind of interesting, like you wouldn't talk to them or something.
That was basically it. I chose not to speak, and this person, Michael Armstrong from Laconia, New Hampshire, who was recently returned from working as a paid mercenary in, I'm not sure if it was Iraq or Afghanistan. He assaulted me by pulling me out of my vehicle. Even though I'd provided, of course, all of the documentation that these sorts of people say, provide us this documentation and we'll let you be, that was not the case. So when I did not speak after providing the documentation, he pulled me out of my vehicle and called one of his friends to come and steal my vehicle, and then put me in chains and took me to a caged facility where my shoes and the outer layer of my clothes were taken from me, and spent the night in a cage.
And then I think a lot of people called. Did that help you to get you out?
It's hard to say. I got out because I spoke and told them my name and let them, document me and all of those things. It's nothing too amazing to talk about, and I don't have like cop blocking tips 101. Really, it's just I think that the more you don't feel compelled to fight against the horrors of the world, but rather the more that you can just use technology and your own cleverness to just circumvent them. Like if there's a fence in front of you and that fence is the fence of coercion, you could go battering against the fence. That's an option. But what if the first option is perhaps to see if you can vault over it, or to dig under it, or to hop on a drone motor. I think it's called a quadcopter. It's this thing that there's like a prototype in Australia or something. People actually hop on these quadcopters and ride them like motorcycles. I would think that all of those would be better first options than going straight at the fence.
Good information. Yeah, got lots of dogs here, lots of chihuahuas. And you're of course with Pete Eyre of Copblock founder, recent Anarchast guest. So he deals with all that kind of stuff. And that's it for the Chihuahua. So yeah, let's talk about what you're doing now. So the Daily Decrypt, for people who don't know about it, looks really interesting, much needed service about, there's so much going on in the cryptocurrency world. It just actually almost is overwhelming, and probably is for you as well. And you sort of do a wrap up every day of what's going on. So tell people about that.
Well, we aim to fill a need, like you said, a need which I think existed. First of all, in a video format, there is a good deal of cryptocurrency news coming out in text every day, but not so much on the video front. But also, I wanted to serve as a curator for this barrage of news, really, in that I think that only like 15% of your daily crypto headlines out there are of value. And so I already was, for 1 to 2 hours a day, just doing my own research on all of the daily news. Like, I was already doing it for free on my own time every day anyway. And so I thought, well, if I find this curation of information valuable, certainly some others might. And so that's what we attempt to deliver.
Yeah, that's great. And so you got into Bitcoin, you said, a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. Are you as surprised as me, or I don't know if surprised is the word, to see just how it's developing? There's so much stuff going on now. It just, because I remember a couple years ago, there was nothing. It was like Mt. Gox and I can't even remember anything else that was really going on. Maybe blockchain.info had a wallet, a couple of things, but now it's just like every day.
I think one of the most interesting things about the adoption of Bitcoin is that, at least in my life, it has changed which merchants I will go to at first. So, like, whereas some of the attempts to increase Bitcoin adoption are like with payment processors. You know, they'll go to these big legacy retailers and they'll say, okay, if you accept Bitcoin, we'll be the middleman, we'll switch it to fiat and we'll deposit it in your bank account. And so these retailers say, sure, yes, but they're not actually accepting Bitcoin, right? Like, it's the payment processor who's accepting Bitcoin and they're just swap-a-doodling it for them. And some even say that this constant selling off of the crypto that these merchants accept actually contributes to volatility, and most people don't want volatility in their currency. And so I find that, like, for example, in New Hampshire, there are landlords who accept Bitcoin for rent. And there are actual pubs that accept Bitcoin for beers. And I think there's like this climbing wall place where you can pay to go and climb for Bitcoin. But then even better, like on just a person to person within the community there. Like, there are these people who roast coffee beans and they'll sell it for Bitcoin. There's this guy who gives rides and he works for Bitcoin. And so to me, one of the most interesting things to see has been that I think there's going to be a shifting in merchants. Like, it's not that Bitcoin needs to comply to work around the existing legacy payment systems. Like, oh, how can we get Bitcoin on credit cards? How can we get Bitcoin to work with those like dumbass payment terminals? Like, no, like, merchants who want to hop on the wagon to the future are the ones who need to comply, or not need to, but who are showing that they want to comply, some of them, and those who are doing so are being rewarded, and that they are becoming the first choice, the go-to choice for people who want to close what's called closing the loop of the crypto economy, where people don't feel that they constantly have to sell back out for fiat.
Yeah, that's of course a big issue. Is the biggest issue pretty much is the in and out of fiat currency, and if we can develop just develop it more and more, and it seems like it is. It's every day, as I said, there's so much news coming out, and so many interesting developments and technologies. So it's going to be interesting. I saw recently that they always say when there's bombs go off or when people die, it's anarchy. But when the statery attacks happened in Paris recently, they said that they think the terrorists were using Bitcoin. You see that one? Yes, and then, I mean, it's not even worth mentioning that the journalist came out a couple of days later and said, actually, I had no evidence for that. But even if he had, like, even if people who enact violence
use cryptocurrency because it's useful. Well, you know, I bet they wear shoes because they're useful. I bet they ride in cars and planes because they're useful. Any tool that is useful to a good person is probably going to also be useful to a bad person. And so this whole diversion of, see, and this is another reason why I created the Daily Decrypt. We do not report on shit like that. Like when you log into your Twitter feed and you see all of these people reporting shit that you just don't care to see, we will never do that to you, ever.
That's good. Yeah, another thing that terrorists have used throughout time is U.S. dollars. It's ridiculous. They're obviously trying just to, damage Bitcoin because they see that it can change the world. It is a non-government currency, and so it is going to be a war. And it's ongoing, and we're seeing all kinds of different legislation happening in each country and ridiculousness. But Bitcoin keeps rising in terms of use, which is great.
Yeah. And another thing I like is that, so people tout Bitcoin as being like, oh, it's a competitor to fiat, which it is. And that's so awesome. Like before a couple of years ago, which among us ever had cause to utter that phrase? Oh, a competitor to the dollar. Whoever even said anything like that? They didn't, because there wasn't. But even within the crypto sphere, there are competitors against Bitcoin too. And that is what really gets me going. And if you watch the Daily Decrypt, you'll see that like we're not Bitcoin maximalists. Whichever money, even if it's not a cryptocurrency, if there's another invention that like blows cryptocurrency out of the water, whichever competitive market-based money serves people best is really what excites me. And also the fact that might not end up being just one currency. If technology continues to advance the way it does and makes the exchange of one cryptocurrency to another as fluid and as fast and as cheap as it can be, there need not be one currency to rule them all. For example, there's this virtual reality company called Voxelis. And so they sell their virtual reality software on their website, and they just created their own cryptocurrency called Voxel. And so in the Voxelis store, only voxels will be accepted as payment, not even Bitcoin. And so this really sparked my interest because it gave me a flash of a future in which productive enterprises all have their own currency. And so the value of a currency is determined by the value of how productive those people are. And just stuff like that just gets me like seeing swirls and stars and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The potential is unbelievable that we have now with technology and things like the blockchain and how people have been learning from it and what's going to branch off from that. Blockchain, or Bitcoin and blockchain have only been around since about 6 years now, 7 years. Mm-hmm. And of course the first few years no one even knew about it. I didn't even know about it. There was a few smart people who knew about it and they probably made a lot of money.
As well they should.
Yeah, as well they should. But now it's just growing so much, just every single aspect of it. So you can imagine, for example, when the internet came out, I was around for that. I think you're too young.
I remember my grandpa actually showed me the first. He was like, Amanda, would you like to come and see the internet? And I said, what's that? And he said, he was clicking around and something wasn't working, and he said, I think too many of the neighbors are on it or whatever. But I remember my first time seeing the internet. I was like 8 or 9.
Well, yeah, you're 29, so 20 years ago, it started really around 93, 94, but hardly, again, like with Bitcoin, no one really knew about it till 96, 97, and then people really didn't start using it the way they use it today until into the 2000s. So you can imagine with Bitcoin being only a few years old now, the potential growth of this, not only Bitcoin and the blockchain, but the technologies that are all related and even not unrelated, as you pointed out, just new technologies that we haven't even thought of yet. So it's got a lot of exciting stuff. So that's why people should definitely check out the Daily Decrypt. I find just trying to see all the news all the time, and like you pointed out, a lot of sites have a lot of extra stuff I don't care about, and so I appreciate you're doing your program, and so I could just get, what is it, a couple minutes each time?
Between 5 and 7.
Yeah, so just enough for our attention spans nowadays.
Yeah.
just to get the update on what's going on. So if you want, finish up with anything else you want to talk about and let people know where they can find out about the Daily Decrypt and anything else.
Anything else I want to talk about?
Yeah, you always want to talk about something. Go ahead.
Well, I guess my finishing thought would be that I think that any liberty-minded person, which of course is every person watching your show, you have a huge audience, and so I feel flattered that you've asked me to come on your show. Thank you. And I guess I would just want to say that it seems that, okay, so Pete, my man Pete, he has this book called Liberty and the Great Libertarians, and it's a collection of essays from these anarchists who have been writing from like the 1800s, and I didn't even know people were writing about anarchy in the 1800s. That's how ignorant I am in a lot of ways, and so Pete reads these essays to me from time to time, and even in like the 1800s and early 1900s, these thinkers, and I wish I could give you a name, but I can't, but these thinkers were saying things like the denationalization of money. Actually, that's the name of a book by Hayek. F.A. Hayek wrote a book a long-ass time ago called The Denationalization of Money. And way before, not only way before Bitcoin, but way before the internet, even before computers, these great legends of liberty were saying if there were just a way that we could divorce money and state, that would be the single biggest step toward freedom that could be achieved. And so while I think it's like the tentacles of freedom, you know, like the unschooling and the prepping and the self-sustainability and all of these things, I do think that the most effective bit at the core of all of these things that people are divorcing the state from education, from religion, from entertainment and communications, at the core, I think that the most powerful way to divorce yourself from the state is in money. And so, yeah, that is the gospel to me.
And let people know where they can find out about the Daily Decrypt.
So we have a YouTube channel, but if you don't like YouTube, that's fine. We also upload to Facebook, that place that you love, Facebook. So our videos go there, both places, Monday through Friday. And then, of course, all the Twittery, Tumblr-y stuff, we're in all those places too.
That's great. And to your point about money and state, I think it was Rothschild, one of the Rothschilds, one of those crime family syndicate people who said that I care not who makes the laws if I control the money. Butchered the quote like I always do, but that's essentially what he said, and it is the case. If you do, that's what really controls the state. All its power is behind the creation of money and making people use it, and using taxation to make people keep working to get their pieces of paper. And so we could have a great new world if we can get more and more people into cryptocurrencies and things like that. So check out the Daily Decrypt. I'd like to thank Amanda Billyrock for coming back on, so now people can stop asking me, whatever happened to Amanda Billyrock?
Stop asking, Jack.
It's like, I don't know. She's not on Facebook. I don't know. Haven't seen her. But now I have. So great to have you. So that's it for Anarchast. If you like this video, like, subscribe, share down below. And that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
The Coplock was founded in January 2010. Actually, Adamo started it. He and I had been on a couple projects previously together, namely Motorhome Diaries and Liberty on Tour, where we traveled around the USSA and interviewed folks around the theme of liberty. The tagline for Coplock, badges, drunk, ran extra rights, really is aligned with this message of anarchy, because it says, like, hey, if an act is wrong for me, it can't become right just if I put a badge on. And
what is it that woke you up? What is it that converted you? What is it that gave you confidence in this alternative perspective? I shouldn't say alternative, but this new perspective that will soon be the mainstream, and take all of the best strengths from all of those books and combine them. And it shows how politicians use that fear and that emotional manipulation. But we sort of assume, hey, once you get that, it's not going to work on you anymore.
From Acapulco, Mexico, this is Anarchast.